As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Coming up in this episode of No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast. Reaction from Sheffield as the Sheffield Tigers take a 3-point advantage over the Leicester Lions into the second leg of their semi-final. It could have been 14 or more at one point. We've got reaction from Josh Pickering, Simon Stead and more as well. Our main guest in this episode is Ben Cook, talking about his season, ruined by injury early on, and his fight back to fitness, and everything that's fell his way through the course of the year as well, including a little bit of controversy. People having their say, should he be fit to ride in Poland and Britain at the same time? We'll hear the complexities of that argument. Plus, we'll have some reaction from the Cab Direct Championship, the Pool Pirates taking on the Redcar Bears in the playoff semi-final, and it is a slender advantage to the Pirates at the halfway stage. Reaction to come and a look ahead to the fixtures, all on the way this week on No Brakes, No Fear.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
So then to Oleton Stadium, where the Sheffield Tigers were restricted to a narrow 3-point advantage from a dramatic first leg of the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership playoff semi-final against Leicester.
Holder coming round the outside again. He's got his wheels in line. He's going to get the better of Fred. They're going to get the better of Martin as well. Stunning Speedway here in the conclusion. Oh, Jack Holder, can he win the race? Not quite. Fred coming back. Oh, need to lie down.
Well, the Tigers won 46-43 on the night at Oleton, but that represented a major comeback by the Lions, who trailed by 12 points at the halfway stage and 14 with 3 races to go. Sheffield secured 4 5-1s in the first 8 heats, including a talking point in the opener. Leicester captain Max Frick disqualified after a clash with Leon Flint. But the Lions charged back into contention, Max Frick and Sam Masters completing a 5-1 over the home stars Jack Holder and Josh Pickering. And then the Tigers saw both Nick Morris and Anders Rowe disqualified from a controversial Heat 14, leaving Drew Kemp and Carl Howarth to complete an unchallenged 5-0. Rowe still top scored for the Tigers with 8+3, Chris Holder on 8+2, Sam Masters unbeaten after his first ride for the Lions as he totaled 12+1 and was the cabin master rider of the night. Drew Kemp adding a key 10 points at reserve, and Drew's been speaking to Ryan Guest.
To head back to Leicester on Monday, only 3 points down, that is some turnaround for the team, some effort as well.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to say job's done, obviously, because anything can happen in Speedway, but I think we can be happy with that. Mid-meeting it wasn't looking too promising, but somehow we clawed it back. I think the track caught us out a little bit early on, it was a little bit heavy, but seemed to be okay. So, we got the job done, got it done as best as possible. Obviously, we got lucky with that 5 in Heat 14, but you've got to take those races when you can.
You certainly have. For yourself, it was a busy night. Stuart Dixon's admitted he certainly demanded a lot from you tonight. You had your full quota of 7 rides. We saw a lot of frustration out there as well when you came back off track, roaring how you do when you've got that disappointment. But you still came up with a big couple of wins and even bounced back from those disappointments. Like you say, it was a 5-0. But nevertheless, on borrowed machinery, it's still a lot to focus on and concentrate.
Yeah, I think I had everything thrown at me tonight. You know, my first bike that I was riding, I had problems with that in Heat 8. I was losing power every single lap and got past on the line. Tried it again in the race after that, and it still didn't solve the issue. So then hopped on the other bike. That wasn't much better. Made a change, had a crash. You know, it was a hectic night, but. It's semi-final Speedway, you know, in the playoffs from the line, people are riding harder. Everything seems to come at you a million miles an hour. So, to come away with 10 points, I can be happy with that. Probably should have been a little bit more. And like I said, I probably got lucky with a couple of them. But like I said, you got to take these sort of meetings, and I think we can be happy with it.
How proud of yourself are you as well? Because the Drew came from a few years ago. If a couple of things had gone wrong, you may have gone into your shell a little bit and switched off. But you've been working hard on the mental part of your game in recent years, and I think that really has shown tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And funny enough, when I was riding for Sheffield is when I struggled the most. So I'm getting older now, 23 years old. So it's about time I sorted it out. But it's still not perfect, obviously. But we're getting better, and I need to stop being so hard on myself, I think, at times. I get frustrated easily, but I guess that's part of wanting to win all the time, and, that happens. So, we're getting there. Everything's sort of slowly come together. I'm a bit of a slow burner, unfortunately. In life, I think I'm a bit like that, but, like I said, we're on the right path, on the right track, which is good. So, we've only got to keep going up from here.
Drew, a big well done tonight, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you very much.
It is very, very close indeed, and it sets up a fascinating encounter on Monday at the Hydro Scand Arena for the second leg. Let's get some reaction from the Sheffield side of the pits then. As we heard, 14 points up at one stage, and then into the closing stages of the meeting, ending up just 3 points to take to Leicester. Let's first of all hear from Captain Josh Pickering, also with Ryan Guest.
A lead's a lead, I suppose. It could be in a much worse situation. When we were 14 up, I thought we were ticking away just nicely, all the move was good in the pits, and there's been a couple of hard rides, and our boys were coming out the traps good, and we were doing what we had to do, and then I did think myself that they would claw back a few points. I thought Heat 13 was definitely going to be a tough one with them having the 1 and 3 gate position. I thought we'd maybe get drawn back to about an 8 to 10 point lead, which I still think would have been a great task. But then, what happened at 8:14, what do you do, mate? Like, we've got a track where you've got to get out to the outside line. It's the quickest way around. You've got riders that's making their way across that to get to that position, and then you have a call like that, which results in a massive, it could mean a lot of things come Monday night. So I would have taken the 3-all and copped our 8-point lead or whatever, but now it's down to 3. It's just disheartening because the boys have all put in a great effort. We've been in a situation where we've battled on all year. We've beaten teams that, even last week, for example, that very unpredictable for us to go there and do Ipswich at home with their full-strength side. So it's hard that this sport can sometimes just be the result of someone sitting and pressing a button, and I'm not sitting there and I don't even know who the referee was tonight. I don't look into that. That stuff don't worry me. But calls like that is it's not fair. Like if it's a football thing, it's a VAR or something like that. Them calls that can go 50-50 either way or something, they just don't happen. And it's hard. Even I don't want to seem all doom and gloom. We had a win and it's still great. And thanks very much for all our people that supported us all year. And it was a good viewing here tonight. But to only go to Leicester on Monday with 3 points, it's our backs are against the wall, but there's still 15 heats of racing. We still have a 4-point lead, and we've got plenty to race for, so we'll be doing everything we can.
Like you say, in the immediate aftermath, it's obvious to be frustrated and disappointed. Realistically, it is only those last 3 races that have brought it back to being so close. If there's anyone who can rally the group to believe that they can do it, it's yourself as captain. And like you say, perfect example, the boys went to Foxhall and defied the odds and got the win just a couple of weeks ago as well. So why can't you do that again on Monday night?
Of course, mate. mate, and even just wind the clock back a couple of years when we won the league. We're 18 down at Ipswich. I know we come home, but we still turned around a massive deficit. We're going to Leicester, winning already, so we're already 3 points up in the first heat. So that's going to help us, and we're just going to keep that winning attitude going, and hopefully we'll be back here a couple more times at Oldham for the rest of the year.
So not the cushion that the Sheffield Tigers were hoping for, but nonetheless a lead, and it's all going to be decided on the night on Monday. Let's hear from team manager Simon Stead.
Wish the weather gods had looked after us a bit on at Heat 12, and we could have taken that lead. But I don't know, right? I'm disappointed because we done so much right over a long period of the meeting. Like you said, to get to Heat 12 and be in that position was a really good effort. Unfortunately, tides turned, and now we've got 3 points to play with.
Like you say, it is disappointing as well, because in reality it's only those last 3 races that the boys showed so much effort and determination the rest of the night. We saw some fantastic racing, some fantastic passing from the Tigers out there.
Yeah, it was a full commitment all night, and look, it's just normally the sort of heats when we're so strong, we didn't quite get there. So I'm disappointed. But what frustrates me the most is we get to the playoffs every year, and yet again we talk about like refereeing decisions, and it's like it's just the same story. Something has to change.
There were a couple I think both teams can look at as well. Leicester in the first half, Sheffield had a couple as well. I think particularly the one that got the biggest reaction from the crowd was when Anders got excluded in Heat 14.
And obviously the referee's never seen a first corner at Sheffield before, because that was just a normal first corner, and that happens a lot. I think Kyle knows this place inside out. He was going for the racing line, as was Anders. Anders got his nose there first. So, yeah, look, I mean, that really cost us, didn't it? 3 points there. The difference between 3 and 8 is huge. So, like I said, it's just unfortunately, it's just sound like a broken record when you get to these sort of fixtures, and we just talk about the same things over and over again. We never seem to get any improvement or consistency, so that's disappointing on its own. But look, the reality is we are where we are. It's a great matchup against 2 good teams. Leicester fought back strong and just showed what you can do as an away team. So we'll go with the same fight on Monday and see what we can do.
So all to be decided on Monday night. It will be live too on the TV on TNT Sports and Discovery Plus. Lying in wait then are the Ipswich Witches, who've already reached the Premiership Grand Final, as you well know by now, defeating the Bellevue Aces. Richie Hawkins then, let's get some reaction from him after his side secured their place in the Grand Final, saying that his side adapted to the conditions at Vauxhall the best, and it was a 22-point aggregate win. He's been speaking to Mike Boswell.
Richie, just reflection. Monday night, 6 points behind from the first round. Did you have a bit of a chat with the boys, regroup them for tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke after the meeting, and I thought we did a great job Monday. We was happy with it because we were very solid and got very professional job. I thought we did, where we filled in a lot of the minor places, and then tonight, certainly after last week and the cup and stuff, where we've had a couple of real poor performances, we knew we needed to be focused, and the boys were so focused and determined to win tonight. Was you see how the difference in them when they're mentally on it tonight in the tricky conditions, and how good they were.
And sort of, looking at the weather forecast coming into Thursday, any nerves as such, like, hey, we've got to get this on, this has got to happen. But the boys, you say, seem to attack the track and made the most of it compared to Bellevue.
Yeah, obviously, we had probably similar rain as last week. So after the performance last week and how much we struggled in them conditions, yeah, that's a concern. But to be honest, as soon as we all got together and the feel of the place and how the boys were and stuff, and certainly, when we're looking at the track and how positive they were, and focused on winning, not really about anything else, was great. That's where their mindset was, rather than bike setups and track conditions and stuff. They were just focused on winning, which certainly was the right thing to do.
As you go down the team, what would you look at the call-out performances across the team from certainly individual riders?
Well, certainly the massive difference, I think, was obviously Dan Thompson back to the form he was in at the start of the season, and we were so good and smashing everyone at the start of the year, really, because of how good he was. And that made such a big difference tonight as well. And then Jason Edwards, for me, struggled the last few weeks. So both of them have struggled for a few weeks, and then this week they've turned up and banged in big points and been determined, rode the track very well. So, yeah, they were the big differences.
And obviously now we've done our playoff semi-finals. It's now up to really who comes out of the Sheffield, Leicester side. You know, for us going forward, is it a little disadvantage us not riding next week? Or do you see, you know, perhaps actually a week off, get us to regroup, is actually a positive for us going forward?
If we had a whole week off as such, as individuals, then yeah, I'd say it's if everyone was sat around for a week. But I think every one of the boys are racing in other different countries and different meetings and stuff, so they'll still be keeping race sharp. So as long as they keep through that the next 10 days or so like fit, then yeah, that's real positive. They'll still be on the bike and racing and race sharp, so they're going to be keeping on top of their game with that. And next week that semi-final is going to be a cracker, and I couldn't pick a winner out of Leicester Sheffield.
Okay, so you can't pick a winner, but who would you like to be against?
Oh, well, Leicester's closer to my house, so it's less travelling, but I don't know really. I guess, you know, we probably go best at Leicester out of the two tracks, but then we've had very good results in both places, so we'll see.
So then, the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership, the playoff final will be taking place the first week of October now. Monday, October the 6th, the first leg of the grand final, with the second leg on the Thursday, the 9th. This is after the Speedway of Nations, because nothing can really take place during the course of that week, because the Speedway of Nations is not just a weekend event, it runs through the whole of the week. The first event is on Tuesday. So we've got the next leg of the playoff semi between Leicester and Sheffield on Monday. That's September 22nd. We have September 25th reserved in case there is a rain-off situation. But then after that, it's Monday, October the 6th, Thursday, October the 9th, with October the 13th reserved as a backup date in case the weather gets in the way again. So the idea is, whatever happens, it should all be resolved by mid-October. So that's it for the first part of No Brakes, No Fear. In the next part, we will chat to Ben Cook, who's had a frustrating season and speaking, I think, really for the first time since his comeback from injury, and how that really affected him and put him on the sidelines for an extended amount of time. But that said, he was back a lot quicker than a lot of the doctors fancied. We'll hear the story from Ben Cook next on No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan. Our guest in this episode is Ben Cook, who's been riding for the Kings Lynn Stars, but not quite as much as he would have hoped at the start of the season, finding himself on the sidelines through injury in the early part and taking a lot longer than many first anticipated, Ben included, to come back. And of course, that comeback was not without some controversy in some quarters from some people as well. We'll hear about that from Ben in just a moment. But Ben, first of all, let's talk about the Speedway last night, playoff semi-final. You were watching on. What did you reckon to it? Because, of course, frustrating night, I think, for one of your teammates in Poland there, Josh Pickering, for his side, the Sheffield Tigers, 14 points up, leaving with just a 3-point advantage.
Yeah, it had it all last night. Thrills, spills, everything. So, yeah, it's a tricky place, Sheffield. The gates, the selection of gates sometimes are a big help, and having the right gates at the right time are a thing as well. So, I mean, it's good for TV that it went down to such a close margin for the return leg at Leicester. I think that'll be another tough meeting and close one for each team. I think either one can win their way. And, yeah, I mean, it had it all last night. It wasn't for the faint-hearted. It's on the fence with a wall of dirt in the berm. It's pretty scary, especially if you're following someone and you're a passenger once you get in that thing, as you've seen with Nick. You know, he got caught in that dirt berm and he was just a passenger, which it is tough for a rider. It's not fun when you're in that. You're not in control when you cop on the roost and you're just stuck in that berm. So, yeah, obviously there was some good races last night as well. But, yeah, it's tough work out there.
Yeah, and well, you know firsthand as well from last season, when it goes wrong at Sheffield, it's such a fast track and a wide track. But, you know, when you go down, you go down hard as well. I was pleased to see that, you know, Nick Get Up and, well, all of those boys that found themselves on their backsides, you know, seem to have come through it okay, I think.
Yeah, it's one of them things as well. You can be following someone there and they can go in front of you and go in a used wheel track and just be spinning up pretty much in front of you, and you can come back from 15 metres back and catch them to their back wheel if you catch all the dirt. So it's a scary thing there. It's its own unique track, put it that way.
That's the present. Let's go back to the start of the season and talk us through what went on with you, because it all started brilliantly for you. You were shaping up for a strong season. You were starting at number 1 for the Kings Lynn Stars, and then you're in that meeting against Leicester, I think it was, wasn't it? The Adrian Flux Arena, and a simple fall off. You know, you've just got a bit of dirt or whatever, and you hit the track. And it ended up being quite a complicated injury, and you've been on the sidelines for a long time, actually. And just take us back to that and where it all went wrong for you at the start of this season.
Yeah, it was April time. Just had my first meeting on the Sunday in Poland, and come back for that one on the Monday, and yeah, that was where it all unfolded. And if I told you it was going to be as tough as what I was only thinking when I was sitting down on the track, thinking, something doesn't feel right. But you didn't think that you're going to be out for 2 or 3 months or whatever it ended up to be. So yeah, it was tough times. Obviously, I've never experienced injury like that before, and touch wood, we don't ever have to deal with that again, because yeah, it's not too much fun at all.
Just talk to us about the injury, because it wasn't just a straightforward, you know, broken wrist, or, you know, I think it was originally reported as a broken scaphoid or a broken bone in your hand. It was a number of things, wasn't it? And all of these things obviously relate to each other, and you needed some fairly complex surgery to get it fixed. So just talk to us about how severe this injury actually was.
Yeah, it was pretty much everything that I could have done, I'd done. You know, when it first came out in the media, it said that I'd broken a scaphoid or something like that. But I wish that would have been the least of my problems. But yeah, obviously it was dislocated very badly. If you've seen some of the photos, and yeah, then I snapped the scaphoid in half and snapped the end of the radius bone off as well, and another break in another bone as well. So it was all happening there, plus obviously ligaments and tendons and all the rest. So it's pretty much, like I said, everything that I could have done, I'd done. And once they'd got me back to the hospital and got it back into place, then they got the x-rays and all that back to realise how bad it was and what was needed to be done next. And yeah, obviously was quite lucky with the situation, having a Polish club and having the connections that they do to get me in as fast as they did to such a high quality level place to get the job done. You know, God knows if I was hanging around here, they couldn't even give me a date or a day when they could even think about doing the surgery here in the UK. So it was very lucky for me to have been in that situation where I could just literally got on a flight the next day and yeah, drove myself to the airport the next morning after I got out of hospital to the airport. Got on a plane with half an arm in a cast, and then yeah, a day and a half after that, surgery was done, and yeah, that was where the journey began, really.
And the journey was to get you back on a Speedway bike. And obviously, as you just touched on there, not a straightforward injury, not a straightforward recovery. People will know about the Ben Fund here. The Ben Fund in the UK help all injured Speedway riders. And I know they certainly helped out as much as they could. But you did have as well a lot of support from your Polish club, who arranged surgeons and private hospitals, which is what you actually needed then. It was a very big situation that needed fixing.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, like you said, the Ben Fund, they're such a great thing. They helped me out in the time I was away. But yeah, like you said, to get into such a specialist place and one of the best surgeons in the country for the wrist, that was awesome, because it's not as simple as just breaking, your arm or something, collarbone. They put it back together and away you go again. Where this one, if it all didn't go back together properly, that's could limit and restrict the movement in your wrist for your rest of your life. So it was one of them things you want to get done properly when you do get it done. So they over there helped me out such a lot in getting it all back together, and even the rehab and recovery process. And I didn't think when I was sitting in the ambulance, or when it was all thought it was all back together, you think, in a few weeks or whatever it'll be, I'll be back and it'll be all good again. But if it was that easy, I couldn't pick up a bottle of water for a couple of months. It was crazy, and you're thinking to yourself, is this thing ever going to get better? And I was lucky that Jack Holder had done a similar injury to me a couple of years ago. So I was, we're in contact a lot, and he helped me out with different things to what to do and where to go and who to see. And it ended up to be its own job in itself to get the recovery and the rehab set up. I had pretty much my own rehab set up at home, and with oxygen chambers and all the rest. And to be honest, if I didn't treat it, as like I did, and as every day set up and in its own job itself, I may well not have been back until maybe now or something like that, because the doctors said it could be a 3 to 6 month injury. And I did come back for my first match at the 8-week mark, I'm pretty sure it was, and I done that, and then obviously copped some shit, but it was much easier and safer on the bike out there compared to here. The tracks are much bigger and smoother, and I could get away with it. But when I did come back, I come back and rode Bellevue, which is pretty similar to a Polish track, so I could get away with it. But then trying it at Birmingham really put me in my place to really show me where I'm really at with the injury, and maybe coming back as soon as I am was going to be tougher than I thought. But let me tell you, it wasn't that I didn't want to be out there. It was I physically couldn't. I'm on the bike and I wasn't in control at Birmingham there when it was so rough. Wasn't going to be safe for myself or anyone else around me. So and I didn't want to be back in the position where I started. So ultimately I had to make that decision. I couldn't just keep picking when choosing where I could ride here in England. So I had to make that decision that I need the extra month off to keep continuing to try and get it a bit stronger and more fit. But it was a tricky situation. Obviously, I copped a lot of shit from social media and all that. Everyone's got their 2 bob to throw in and think they've been there and done it. But it's all the people that have never ridden a bike that are commenting, so you can just take it with a grain of salt. But obviously it's been a tough road those couple of months, but it was nice to come out the other end and start riding again here in England, and starting to feel comfortable on the bike and finish this season strong, which was what I wanted to do. I didn't want to finish on a downer, and I wanted to get back, and ultimately, it really finished quite well for me, which is awesome.
Yeah, on that situation with the comeback, just explain to us, because this is the bit that people just can't get their head around. As you say, it's people who've never ridden a Speedway bike. Anybody who's a Speedway rider does understand it, and so you've got to take that from it. But the tracks in Poland versus the tracks here, obviously, first of all, they're bigger, but different surfaces as well. That's another thing, isn't it? That a lot of clay here. It's really quite grippy here. The bike, I imagine, doesn't feel the same in Poland. Some riders even say it's almost a different sport. Depending on where you're riding, you can ride on the continent, you can come here, and it just is a totally different set of rules, different style of riding, different demands on the body. So tell us about how people will say, well, how can you ride in Poland? This is the first question. How can you ride in Poland versus here? Just talk about those differences, and then we'll talk about the next thing after that. So I'll let you answer that first. Yeah, well, like you said, the tracks are much bigger. When you turn up, they're just immaculate. They're like a billiard table, and so there's a lot more room for error and not as much demand on the body and physical. So you could get away with it in a way, and
obviously out there it's such a huge sport. You know, we have our own physio on the every meeting we do, and so he would be with me in the pits during each race, and we'd be strapped up. He'd come in with ice packs and massage, and whatever I needed to do to help me out. So that's a huge help in itself. And I mean, yeah, some of the more physical tracks, you don't want to be slating any tracks or anything here, but Birmingham was very difficult this season, very rough, and that pretty much proved how difficult it really was to be on the bike. And maybe I am back more earlier than I really should have been, or considering the situation I had. And yeah, so pretty much that's how it all unraveled. The head wanted to be there, but the body was saying you can't. So yeah, that some tracks you could get away with, but the more physical, demanding tracks and the rougher, like I still struggle with it. Still not 100%, but it's just one of them things. Like I said, it'll take months and months to get back to fully normal after such huge repercussions that have happened to it, and what has to be healed back to 100%. It'll be good next year, but right, you can't buy time pretty much.
And the other part of the question then is when it comes to a comeback, obviously you had that extra month off, but it was also sort of enforced on you as well, because you did end up getting a 28-day ban for riding in Poland, but then not being able to ride here. Do you think that there should be, when you're coming back from a big injury like yours, where it's not sort of a muscular injury, for example, you have had a break, you've got metal work in you, you've been off the bike for a few months. Do you think that you, as a rider, should be able to pick and choose your meetings for a period when you are coming back to ease you back into it? Because you're going from nothing to then a demand of you've got to ride everywhere in Europe, or get a ban somewhere, and so you do have to pick and choose to an extent. But I don't know. I mean, Woofy's talked about this before as well. If he could only ride home meetings, for example, he would have been able to ride somewhere, but home and away was too much.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. Everyone can look at it two ways, but as a rider, we don't want to be sitting on the sideline because we don't earn money on the sideline. So obviously we want to be out there as much as we can, but sometimes we can't be out there physically. So, I mean, yeah, I think we shouldn't get punished for, trying to come back and while having such a, serious injury that has happened. So, yeah, I mean, it's fans and everything will look at it a different way, like, oh, they just want to pick and choose the good tracks that suit them, rah, rah, rah. But yeah, it's definitely not in that way. I had to pretty much cop the 28-day ban just so I could, a few days more rest for me and my injury wasn't going to help me. 1 week wasn't going to make a difference. It's in this situation, it's a month period times that are really going to notice a difference. So, yeah, I mean, every injury is different, and, some riders maybe take the piss with that and just continue it on for a long time, just picking and choosing where they want to be. So, yeah, it is a tricky situation. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we don't want to be sitting here on the sideline. We want to be racing, but sometimes the body just doesn't let us.
I think a lot of rules in life in general, but in Speedway, in sport, many rules are there because someone took advantage once upon a time, and that then impacts the genuine cases as well, doesn't it? But it can be difficult. So you are now, as I say, your season with Kings Lynn, I think maybe a lot of people weren't expecting you to see you back after everything, and maybe at a point where Kings Lynn, they did have an outside chance of making the playoffs, but it was a sort of a slim chance. But you did come back. So, you proved a few doubters wrong there as well.
Yeah, for sure. I always wanted to come back. I don't travel the other side of the world just to sit here at home and do nothing. So, yeah, I wanted to be back, and I worked very, very hard to get back. I was traveling to Poland and here, 2-3 times a week doing rehab and physio out there for days at a time, and then coming back here, and I'd spend 5-6 hours a day doing physio rehab and in the oxygen chamber day on day out. It's was a tough thing to me, so I obviously wanted to come back and to prove to the club that as well. And they were all awesome. The management there, they understood my situation, and which was the best part for me, because like I said, I wanted to be out there, but it wasn't possible. So they were great from the start, and I was upfront and honest with them about it all. And so to come back, I had a few meetings there in the end, and just starting to get in the groove, and the season's done. So it was a bit of a funny year for me, but the team, we had a good team to make the playoffs for sure, and we proved that there in the end when we had a full team, which we didn't have all year. And yeah, it's tough, but they've been hit with that injury woes for the last couple of seasons, which has been tough for them. But yeah, what could have been, who will know? But it's just the sport sometimes. It's a tough game.
Yeah, frustrating, isn't it? And it's happened a couple of times to King's Lynn, I think, in previous years, and you see what they can achieve, and perhaps as well reminiscent to your time with Peterborough with Rob Lyon too, where again a frustrating season, but when the team was together and when the team clicked, it was sort of backed up that the choices of the team makeup were right. The team did fire when on the occasion where everybody got it together and everybody was available through injury.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, Peterborough days were the exact same. At the end of the year, we beat every team that was in the playoffs, and even knocked Leicester's chances at the end there as well. So even same setup again this year. We beat all the top teams that are in the playoffs, and pretty much just proved again why we maybe should have been there. But like I said, it's a tough game, this one, at times, and you need your luck. You got to take your luck when you get it. And King's Lynn haven't really had it for the last couple of years, but yeah, it's just one of them things. You can look at it many ways, but yeah, we weren't there at the end.
And as I say, you've been riding in Poland as well in the Extraliga 2, which is the second tier of Speedway there, but it's still a very competitive league, isn't it? There's some top riders in that league. And yeah, Leszno came down to a playoff final, and you're up against Bydgoszcz, and Bydgoszcz have got Tom Brennan is one of the riders for Bydgoszcz. You're in the Leszno team. Josh Pickering was in the Leszno team as well, and you got the job done. And so, yeah, it was a massive night, wasn't it? It was shown as the photos the other night of Leszno Stadium. There was 20-odd thousand people there. I mean, this is mind-blowing. People, you can't imagine it in this country, unfortunately, at this stage. But, to be in a massive stadium that's ram-packed full of crazy fans, it must have been quite an experience.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Something I'll remember forever. It's not just 21,000 ordinary people there. It was 21,000 absolutely crazy, going off fans, letting flares and chanting, singing. It was wild. It's such a cool thing to be a part of. And, even on the parade truck, I said to Josh, have a look at this, take all this in. It's pretty cool. Just absolutely, singing and carrying on. And it's awesome. That's what we dream, and that's why we do the sport, for those moments. And to get the win with them was awesome. Get the gold medal and get promoted back to Extra League, which was the goal for the team and management at the start of the year, and we achieved that. So it was a pretty much perfect year for Leszno out there, and like you said, just the whole sport out there is just unbelievable. And yeah, it'd be awesome for it to get to, a similar thing here in England, and hopefully with this thing with Harry, he can help boost the sport, because it's got everything here. You've got the population, you got the tracks. We just need to get some, obviously, the good TV deals and sponsors. It's all here. The recipe's here for it to all get back to the top where it can be. So yeah, let's hope he can help with that.
Well, yeah, old Harry Redknapp, and I think that you would imagine there might be others as well that would get involved too, to try and raise this. And we see this in a lot of sports now, where you get all sorts of well-connected investors, and particularly in football, it's happening now as well. That these people can use their media presence, their contacts and what have you to, it's not going to be something that happens overnight, but, it can just raise you up the agenda here, there and everywhere that might eventually, over time, put us in a better place.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not a bad thing, this whole situation. That's what it needs. It needs just more eyes on the sport, and for that to happen, you need someone with such power to help that. And it's such a unique sport, and a lot of people wouldn't know anything about it or never been to it, and they come for the first time, and you never see anyone say they had a bad time for their first time. So, yeah, like I said, it's got the recipe and everything's there for it to happen here in England, but it just hasn't quite clicked yet. So, just needs the big sponsors and more eyes and good TV deals and all that, which is, that's the only difference to what England doesn't have and Poland does have at the moment. So, if we can secure some stuff like that over the next, few years, I don't see how and why the sport won't get back up to a higher level here.
As you say, you've come around the other side of the world for it. People, I think, maybe take it for granted what we've got in British Speedway, where you've got, the league structure for a start. We've got competitive leagues. We have got world-class riders here. And you don't have that in Australia. Australia produces all this talent. Obviously, you yourself here now, but you grew up in the same area as Brady, who was very, very close to becoming world champion last week. And yet you don't have that same sort of league structure and all that we have over here. So that in Europe in general. So there is that. It is still a stronghold of Speedway in the world sense in this part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, Australia's got a very, very good bunch of riders at the moment, which is good in a way, but it's very tough, when we go home for the Aussie title championship to try and get those GP qualifier spots. And I think they only give out 2 or 3 max to such a calibre of riders is very tough. And, I think it needs to be looked at a little bit because, a lot of people are getting gifted these things that we have to work so tough for to get in other countries that may not even be ready for the opportunity, and they're getting into these qualifying positions. It's tough to look at, because there are people that are chomping at the bit to get these opportunities and can't get them because of such good calibre of riders that they've got to race against. So it's a double-edged sword for us Aussie boys. It's tough, but it'll even be tougher again this year, I would imagine, for the Aussie title series. And it's like I said, it's great that the Aussies are such good at the moment, but it'd be nice if we could get a few more positions for these opportunities.
And so with that in mind then, you sort of suggesting there that perhaps it's impossible to have potentially the best riders in the world in a GP series because they can't all qualify, because you don't get the opportunities.
Yeah, I'm not literally saying that, but I feel like a lot of people are getting opportunities that definitely shouldn't for these such big meetings. You look at the Aussie titles series that may eventuate this year and the boys in it to get these spots. And, we have 4 GP riders, potentially all doing the Aussie titles this year to try and get 2 spots. So, it is what it is at the end of the day, but it's so tough for us boys to get to that highest level. And just also congratulations to Brady on achieving what he done this year. It was pretty crazy. And, we all started at the same position, all us boys, Max and Jack and Brady and even myself. And to see where we've started to where those boys are, it's crazy. So, I'd like to join them one day. That's what I said. It's tough for us to get there, but when we do, they seem to go quite well.
And for you, it shows it can be done, doesn't it? You grew up on the same track in Cowra in Australia. You're from exactly the same town, and it shows that you keep going, you keep progressing, work your way up the ladder, and Brady's done this the first time of asking, which is the incredible thing, isn't it? That he's gone in there and taken Smarshlick right to the very last heat of the whole championship, And yeah, and even then you look in the amount of points he's got. He's, I think, 7th in the all-time list of how many points you've scored through the course of the series, and he's still missed out, which shows how good Schmarschlik is, but it shows how well Brady's done. That in some other years, in the majority of the other years of the GP, he would have been world champion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was good for TV, anyways. That kept everyone watching till the last round, and I mean, if he said he'd won even 2 GPs for the year, he'd take your arm off at the start of the year, I would have thought. So for him to achieve what he did is pretty crazy. And yeah, I mean, it was good to see someone take it to Smarzlik. He's just an unbelievable rider, and in my eyes, one of the best ever to do it, and probably the best to do it, I think. Just so consistent year on, year out, never has a bad meeting, and that's what you got to do to be world champion so consistently. But yeah, you just need these opportunities, and they're tough to get. So even like for myself, getting the opportunity to ride in Poland, like if I didn't get that opportunity last year, I definitely wouldn't be where I am at the moment. So it is tough to get into Poland, but once you get that opportunity, you just need to take it with both hands. And I feel like that's the same with Brady and the GPs. He probably could have been there a couple of years ago, but he's learned a lot, and he got there, and he made it happen and made it work for when he did get that chance.
Yeah, and they say that you wait, and I think obviously I think I did an interview with Brady a couple of years ago where he was saying exactly what you're saying, in that hope I'll one day get the chance, and it's hard to get into the GPs, but when I get there I'm ready, I think was the sort of message he's saying. And I think what you're saying there is as Aussies, you've got fewer chances. There's a lot of good riders there, and that you maybe appreciate it more, that when you get that opportunity that you grab it with both hands, because you know how hard it is to get that, whereas for other riders maybe these opportunities come along a little easier.
Yeah, exactly. When you do get that chance and you get in there, it's a whole different ball game. You don't it's mentally, physically, it's all tough. And even to try and keep yourself in the GP is another thing in itself, to get the top 7, I think it is, and which is very, very tough. So to secure yourself for the next year in that is great. And I think like you said, it's just needs a few more avenues for us boys to get there. But hopefully we can keep the Aussies there and keep. It's nice to see 4 of them, I think, in there this year. That was pretty crazy. So it'd be nice to keep seeing a lot of the boys in there and for years to come. And it'd be nice to see a home round for them as well, because it's all easy in the boys' backyard for the poles and all that over here. And it'd be nice to have one in our backyard as well. And who knows, see what happens.
Yeah, I'll definitely never say never on that. And of course, there has been news this week of a change in the promoters, with Mayfield Sports Events getting involved, and they're the people who put the show on in Cardiff in recent years. So certainly know a thing about Speedway, and contacts in Formula One and what have you as well. So let's see how that turns out over the course of the next few years or so. For you now, though, Ben, as we mentioned at the start, you're done for the season until, of course, action starts happening in Australia. And so for you, you're able to watch on, and obviously living there with Midlow and your brother Zach. And Zach now's taken up the mantle of being the team captain of the Poole Pirates, and Poole have booked their place in their first Cup final with the BSN series, and they got things underway in the playoffs as well. So watching on from the sides as your brother takes the reins with the Pirates.
Yeah, that's. I was only counting the meetings up yesterday. I'm pretty sure I've only done 20 odd meetings this year, which is pretty crazy considering last year I think I'd done 80 something. So it's quite different comparisons. But yeah, Poole are doing very well again this year, which is good to see. They've got a few meetings still yet to come, and hopefully the weather holds out for them, because it's not fun when it drags on week and wait. But yeah, it's this time of the year. That's how it is. It is tough too, because you work hard all year to get to this position, and then the tracks are probably, not as what you would want for these very important meetings. So hopefully the weather plays part for him and they can put on a show for both teams. And it'd be nice for him to win everything again this year like we did last year. But I think he'll be going till the end of October again this year. I'll be at home by then.
I was going to say, you'll be sunning yourself watching it on BSN while Zach's getting covered in all that.
Yeah, I haven't been home for my birthday since I've been coming to England, 5 years, so end of October. So that was always the plan, to be home for it every year. And you think you're going to do it until the weather comes and everything gets dragged out. But be nice to not be home in November this year. So let's still hope they do well this year. But hopefully I'm at home sunning myself and I can watch it on the stream.
Yeah. So you're going regardless of whether Zach's done. You're
100%. I got nowhere to be. I've like I said, I've been here in November till November for every season I've been here, and I've got nothing to wait around for. He's capable of going out there and doing his job like he has been. But if there's an opportunity to go home early, I'm taking it.
I think, as many people will well understand. And then plans for next year, are you obviously deciding what you're doing, or waiting to see what pans out, I guess, maybe with British Speedway too?
Pretty much, yeah. Just wait to see what's going to happen next year. Obviously got a lot of decisions to make to what's going to happen. Like I said, hopefully with this Harry stuff, we need to have two divisions in my eyes. We can't have the one, so be nice to try and get another team to come up or whatever it may be. But just wait and see, and then be good to have a good year next year, and hopefully, touch wood, no injuries, and we can complete a full season.
Awesome stuff. Well, look, let's hope that you get the full season and no dramas in 2026 would be good, wouldn't it? And make up some of those lost fixtures this year. But thanks for chatting to us with all the honesty and explaining everything from your point of view as well. And enjoy the winter.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
My thanks to Ben Cook, and coming up in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear, a bit of reaction from the playoff semi-final between the Poole Pirates and the Red Car Bears, and we'll have a look ahead to what's coming up in the next week or so in British Speedway here on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
So it's been a fairly steady week as far as Speedway goes, with fixtures still being disrupted with the weather in parts, but there was one big clash in the Cab Direct Championship, and the Poole Pirates were held to a 48-42 advantage over Redcar to leave their Cab Direct Championship playoff semi-final against the Bears in a fascinating position at the halfway stage. Richard Lawson scored another 15-point maximum for the Pirates. They were kept in check, though, by a resilient Bears side who only had 4 race wins but picked up the minor places with fair regularity. Redcar, in fact, led the meeting by 2 points after Heat 8 when the impressive reserve Ace Piper took his second win, and Jake Mulford joined him for a 5-1. Poole hit back, though, straight away through Louis Kerr and Zach Cook, but the only race advantages in the last 6 heats came with a 4-2 to the home side in heats 11 and 15. Lawson backed up by Louis Kerr with 9+1, Anders Rowe with 9, Zach Cook scoring 8+1 for the Pirates. Danny King top scored for the solid visiting side with 9 from 5 rides. Here is Danny King.
We ride this track well, they ride our track well. I generally thought it was going to be close tonight, and it was. I think we, I don't know, potentially could have done a bit better, but not many teams come here and keep it close. So I think it's 6 points. It's all going to be on that last leg for sure.
It was a great meeting overall, though. There was a bit of controversy, a bit of drama, some great racing, fantastic heat as well from Nick Morris in that heat 14.
Yeah, Nick settled in really well. He had a few clutch issues during the meeting, so he was rushing around to fix it, but we've easily got it sorted because that was a great last ride. And, them rides keep us in the meetings and 3-alls when it's that tight. It's important, no last places, and we fought to the end, that's all I can say.
And considering that Ace had some problems getting here earlier on and came out, won his opening ride, won a couple of big heats, and there were some good points from reserve with Ace and Jody together.
Yeah, I think we were solid throughout tonight. I haven't seen the overall scores, but I think everyone was in the mix, everyone was scoring points, and that's what you need if you're going to be successful in this playoff. So, yeah, I think we could be happy, but we know it's going to be tough at home.
Let's also hear now from the Red Car Bears team manager, the happier of the two team managers, it has to be said. Here's Gavin Parr.
It makes it brilliant for British Speedway. At the end of the day, the tie's so in the balance, for the home leg, which will be brilliant for the crowd and everything. So yeah, British Speedway is the winner. My heart's not quite the winner, but yeah, let's see how we get on at home against Poole, because we know they're fantastic at our place as well. So it should be a real ding dong battle.
People will be talking about the incident there that involved Tobias Thompson and Jason Edwards. Initially, Jason Edwards was excluded, and then on looking back at the footage, it was evidence that there was a bit of tape touching, and the tapes touched Tobias Thompson's helmet peak. There was all the managers in the office on the phone to the referee. Just tell us about what was going on there.
Yeah, I spoke to Chris straight away because we'd seen it happen. Obviously, there's a big telly in the pit. So I'd seen that it had touched his peak, and that's an exclusion straight away. You've touched the tapes. Chris, I don't think had seen it originally, but he's got the replays to watch, which is, fair play to him. And I'd like to, say this on record, that he sat and he watched the replay and then made the decision on what he'd seen from the replay. And Poole weren't complaining. At the end of the day, they had seen it as well. But I was on the phone because obviously he excluded Jason. Well, that incident happened after the original incident. So I was just saying to Chris, I'd like Jason's back in. And I think he might have conferred with somebody. But yeah, the right decision was made in the end. And I know their fans sort of booed a little bit, etc. But it was, as a letter of the law goes, that was the correct decision that he made, after watching the replay.
So it is a 6-point deficit. You've had very close meetings with Poole over the course of, the last few years, really. You may have had a few last heat deciders and super heats as well. And, this could be a contest, you say, it's going to go the full distance.
Yeah, I think I said that, really, I could see going to heat 15 of the second tie. And I haven't changed my mind now after the first leg. It could well go down to heat 15 of the second tie, which, as I say, is great for British Speedway. And yeah, let's bring it on.
So there's Gavin Parr, and of course Redcar were relying on one key guest booking, and that was Nick Morris, who was filling the boots of Eric Riss, and certainly he came to the party. Heat 14 was a stunning ride by Nick Morris. He ended up being the rider of the night, and here is Nick Morris chatting with Jason Harold on BSN.
What a Heat 14 that was, Nick.
Yeah, it was a little bit better. I had a bit more speed that time. I wasn't having it my own way tonight. I wasn't making good starts, and I didn't feel very fast. Last race was a little bit better, but I wasn't that comfortable. But we got a win. The whole team battled all night, and we've kept the score respectable. So we go again.
Everybody says Poole's such a difficult place to come. The Poole Pirates, no matter who they have in their lineup, so good on their home track.
Yeah, it can be a little bit of a special track setup wise sometimes, but yeah, when you get it dialed in here, it makes it a lot easier, especially when you're a home rider. You get dialed in and everyone's chasing setups when they come here. So, but I've been here enough times. I expect to be able to find the setup pretty quickly. And tonight I was a lot slower than I thought I would have been. But on other days I've came here as an away rider and found the setup pretty quickly, and it's been good. But if you're chasing your tail early, it's a bit tricky.
Were you changing a lot between races tonight?
Yeah, we changed a lot every race, to be honest. But we changed clutch plates for that last race. That made a big difference. Yeah.
Tell us about that wheelie coming out of turn 4 on lap 1, because there are a few heart-stopping moments there, I think, because you reared, and then Zach Cook, he went on the back wheel.
Yeah, Zacho gifted that one to me. Yeah, we both sort of touched the dirt at a similar time. I was a bit before him, and I picked up a little bit, and then I seen him go quite a bit, and he had a look to the left, and I just got the elbows down and luckily snuck around the outside.
It took him by surprise there.
A little bit. But nah, and then I was just once I got back underneath him, I was just trying to keep the head over the front when I was in that dirt, so I didn't wheelie again and managed to just stay in front and then stuck it around the curb, and we'll take it though, it was all right.
You came back mid-season, which is always difficult for a rider if you're not there and getting dialed in from the start, but how did you find it?
Yeah, it's been pretty tricky, to be honest. Race rust for sure, one thing, but then other thing is just like the bikes I'm on and the engines and everything. Yeah,
it's just showing you a wheelie there.
She wasn't pretty, but yeah, just trying to get comfy on the bikes again, really. I look a bit like a wobbler, to be honest.
But does this like act as a springboard for 2026 for you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty much like set up again to go again now. I had no bikes, anything when I came back, and
so literally starting from scratch.
Starting from scratch. Big thanks to Jamie Courtney and Berwick and Sheffield for taking a chance, bringing me back. And yeah, I've just used this to do some meetings, set back up, get my setup half set up again, and now it's made it a hell of a lot easier to come back next season. Whereas it would have been hard to start the season with from scratch again. But Berwick helped me with everything to get back into it, give me bikes and everything, and now we've just been tweaking everything to try and get comfy again.
Have you got your appetite back for Speedway?
I do.
I think the smile says it all. I've also been asked to point out by our very own Greg Blair watching the coverage tonight, the Jedburgh Jest. He said, don't forget to mention that Nick Morris is actually a Berwick rider.
I am a Berwick rider. I think that's why I got rider of the night. The boys in the black and gold must be watching.
You know, you might be onto something there. There is a bit of a history of riders who happen to have a Berwick heritage. Doing pretty well in Rider of the Night votes, because Leon Flint won it between Edinburgh and Glasgow as well on the previous Friday. Let's have a look at the upcoming fixtures on the cards for the weekend and the week ahead. Friday night then, this is the fixture between Glasgow and Redcar, BSN Series semi-final. The Pool Pirates are already there. Glasgow or Redcar will be joining them. This is the first leg of that. Action in the National Development League as well. A double header at Armadale. Edinburgh versus Oxford, and then Edinburgh versus Leicester. And Oxford could well find themselves crowned league champions, depending on what happens there. On Saturday, BSN Series semi-final second leg. They're straight back to it. Redcar versus Glasgow. That's a 1 o'clock start time. Reason being, it's the World Long Track Championships, and Chris Harris and Jake Mulford need to head there. This fixture was slotted into the calendar, so that's why it's at 1 o'clock. And it's also the Jay Cartmel Memorial Meeting. Jay Cartmel, a young lad from West Cumbria who was tragically shot in an accident last year, about a year ago, in fact. And he was a big Speedway fan, could have been a Speedway rider. His family are involved with Workington, and they've got quite a good lineup there. At Workington, 3 o'clock the start time for a 4-team tournament that's going to be as well. Monday, we've got the second leg of the second semi, Leicester versus Sheffield. 3 points in it, as you know, 7:30 the start time at the Hydrascand Arena. And then on Tuesday, it's the Knockout Cup semi-final second leg between the Glasgow Tigers and the Pool Pirates. There's a bit of needle between the two, you may remember from a few weeks back. Glasgow start that one 38-52 down. Can they rail it in? That's a 7:30 start time at Ashfield. Have a great week in Speedway, wherever you're heading, whatever you're doing, and we'll catch you next week on No Brakes, No Fear. Take care, bye-bye.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.